Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Annie News, and today we are checking out the real best fantasy anime is an Isekai. So it's called. Hint, hint. Yes, that's the actual. Yes. The real best fantasy anime of the year. Hint, it's an Isekai. And on the thumbnail, it's got one of the characters from Mushoku Tensei. So I feel like, and I'm just seeing. I think this is going to have to do with the Crunchyroll Awards and how Demon Slayer got Best Fantasy when, yeah, Mushoku Tensei should have. And isn't it annoying this year that, like, Mushoku Tensei is coming back, but we got Demon Slayer as well, so potentially the same thing could happen again, but yeah, I look forward to Mushoku Tensei coming back. So let's see. And plus, it's voted by people, so if you want it, go on, guys. Next time, let's vote for Mushoku Tensei. But let's see what Anime News has to say on this.
Every night it still haunts me that this happened.
Yeah.
I'll put my vote in for
The
Mushoku,
anime
but
award goes to.
name of this.
This was mad. This is absolutely mad.
Name of this.
Demon Slayer.
No!
No!
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
No! Wait, am I winning? What?
I know this isn't really meant to be taken seriously because, after all, it is just one big popularity contest.
Yeah.
But
Boss.
me being the isekai fanatic I am, couldn't just sit idly by and let Crunchyroll commit what was essentially an affront to God himself.
Damn.
I mean, Demon Slayer? Really? I'm not gonna act like it doesn't belong in this genre, but to pit such a low fantasy against the high fantasy powerhouses of Overlord, Mushoku Tensei,
Yeah.
and Made in Abyss, well, that just doesn't make sense. For those unfamiliar with what I mean, high fantasy refers to an alternate world filled with all sorts of imaginative creatures, landscapes, and magic.
Right, yeah, so it's really out there with like Mushoku Tensei, Overlord, and that, but then Demon Slayer is not that far in this high fantasy realm.
It's a completely separate universe that shouldn't bear any resemblance to our own. The key element defining low fantasy, then, would have to be the setting's location in the real world. A world not far off from our own in which magical creatures and elements intrude into.
Yeah, so like Demon Slayer is pretty much just like our world in the past, but with demons.
So, for a low fantasy where the only magical aspects are demons and slightly overpowered breathing techniques, it makes you wonder how it even got nominated in the first place. I mean, if the best fantasy is judged on the elements that make it such, then you'd think the nominees would only be the shows that were chock full of them. Like, even Attack on Titan would have made more sense than Demon Slayer here.
Ooh, yeah,
But
okay.
since there was obviously little thought put into this, allow me to write
Oh, damn, alright. Jeez.
this wrong that Crunchyroll has made and tell you about what I think is the actual best fantasy anime of 2022.
Mushoku
A
Tensei.
show that not only
Yeah.
incorporates high fantasy well into
Definitely.
its story, but also excels in many of the other areas that make an anime objectively good too.
All those things. All those things that popped up, yes. Ah, I can't wait for it to come back.
Let's talk about Mushoku Tensei.
Ooh, Tower of God's back this year, though, isn't it? Well, I think I mentioned that every time I watch like a Mushoku Tensei thing, but I'm looking forward to that.
At first glance, Mushoku Tensei seems just like every other isekai. A shut-in from Japan gets run over by a truck, then before he knows it, he's reincarnated into a new world of magic and fantasy.
Yes.
It's the classic intro we've seen hundreds of times over by now. The standard approach that so many others have gone to replicate.
It happens
So,
so
what
often.
makes Mushoku Tensei different, you might ask? Well, not too much if you're looking for something that breaks the mold, but pretty much everything in the way that it handles that mold. You see, all those generic tropes you may find cliche and overused in
So, overpowered main character, yes, yes. Convenient knowledge, yes. Disregards past life, yes. Yes.
other isekai are applied to the fullest here and used as a means to develop the world, characters, and plot.
It's just so well.
Something as simple as
written.
our protagonist becoming overpowered isn't just a product of the new life he's been thrown into, but instead the result of a long, fleshed-out journey that spans the length of years. Decades, even.
I love...
It's a journey in which
I love, like, the whole aspect of, like, journeying, traveling somewhere from A to B and discovering things along the way. Like, I think that's why JoJo's Stardust Crusaders is, like, my favourite part, you know? Like, well, the first half even, you know, on the way to Egypt.
there is no finite goal like defeat the Demon Lord, but instead this ongoing path of self-exploration and self-reflection. It's a highly character-driven narrative, far more immersive than any isekai or fantasy we've seen before. The core reason why I think that is because the main character, Rudius, is shown to actually age. Like, he physically gets older with each passing arc.
Yeah.
He's not perpetually stuck in a single time period of his life, but
I quite like that. Yeah, it's cool because everything else, every other Isekai thing is just the same. You don't see them grow and develop.
is instead shown to grow from infancy to adulthood. The entire series is us going through the events of his life as he matures both physically and mentally, providing this incredibly realistic portrayal in the way him and the others around him are developed. Now, I could talk about how this is masterfully applied to portray Rudy's progression from degenerate to respectable, but I think that concept is pretty much a given by now. I mean, anyone who's ever even heard of Mushoku Tensei knows that he's about as degenerate can get.
Yes, very much so. I mean, look at that. Jesus Christ.
So, rather than talk about how the story constantly works towards rehabilitation by having him learn from his mistakes, I instead want to focus on how the side characters are developed. You see, it's not just Rudy who's on this journey of growth and self-exploration. With a lot of the other characters not fitting in much like how Rudy did in his past life, you'll find several parallels between them and Rudy, along with quite a few significant developments of their own. Take for example Paul, Rudy's father. While being just as degenerate as his son, a significant crisis paves the path towards his redemption. He initially starts off as a deadbeat and almost splits the entire family, but over time and throughout that previously mentioned crisis, Paul goes through numerous ups and downs while discovering just how important family really is to him.
Family.
It's all part of the journey that develops him into a better father and husband. If we look at the female protagonist, Eris, next.
Oh yeah, mate.
As a character so intent on becoming strong, she's constantly reminded of just how weak she is.
She bloody works for it, man. My God.
So, what initially starts off as a hot-headed character always quick to violence, slowly becomes one that's more disciplined as she's forced to confront her weaknesses and flaws. It's another journey that focuses on personal growth, one that leads to purpose and self-understanding. Now, with other characters dealing with themes like atonement and belonging, what they all eventually come back to is growth and self-improvement. It's just as Giguk once said in his own video talking about this. Rudy and the others aren't characters intended for us to self-insert into, but instead characters intended to provoke self-reflection. Personally, I like to think it's all to show it's never too late to turn your life around. No one wants to live their life the way that Rudy lived his before, so why waste the life that we have now? We're not gonna get a second chance at it like how Rudy did. So whether it's through Rudy or any of the other characters' impactful journeys, you'll come to see that it's all about making the most out of the life that you're living now. And it's that deep-seated basis in such a profound topic that really makes Mushoku Tensei excel in terms of plot and character development, far better than any of the other fantasy we got last year. Now, an intriguing plot and character development are always good, but what about the characteristics that make it a fantasy? The brand new world and magical elements within it?
There's like so many interesting places that they visit and see, and it's so well thought out.
I mean, that is after all the category we're vying for here. Well, when it comes to that, the influence of magic is just the tip of the iceberg. Whereas other isekai center their whole plot around it, magic isn't the end-all be-all here. Yes, it does have a complex and fleshed out system, but so too does the element of swordsmanship.
Yeah,
Both are equally important and prevalent in this world where power is so disparate between those at the top and those at the bottom.
Yeah, there's like loads of different sword techniques and levels to it and everything as well. It's like so complex.
So, it's not just whoever can fling the most powerful spells, but instead whoever's mastered their skills in swordsmanship or magic best. Even the very art of combat is something that's heavily explored throughout the series.
The animation's so good.
And that's an element that ties deeply into the various kingdoms and races that stem from them. Just like how Overlord has various kingdoms, each with their own political goals and motivations, so too does Mushoku Tensei, except bigger. What I mean is that the entire world is established beyond the scope of just kingdoms and cities. There's the continents in which they're located, the regions, kingdoms, and zones that constitute them, then the unique populations that reside within them, all of which are made distinct and clear, as well as given historical reasoning as to why they turned out that way. Now, you may think details like that would be given in some sort of exposition dump, but the way the world is defined is actually far more creative. Certain historical facts may be briefly mentioned as part of a larger conversation, while defining landscapes are always highlighted whenever the setting is being changed. clear features distinguish certain races from the others, and those defining traits can even be the root cause of various problems they face. Those problems can then range between anything from cultural to political, and even tie back to the diverse history of the world I was mentioning. Then, as if lengthy visuals weren't enough to highlight the transition from one kingdom to the next, the opening song and sequence will always change to match the setting it's in. So, let's say one episode is in the Fatoa region, this song will always be the one that plays during the opening.
Okay.
If the next episode is in the Holy Kingdom of Milis, the opening song will change to this one. It's a well-known concept in music known as a leitmotif.
I didn't think I noticed that, but that's very interesting attention to detail. That's really freaking cool.
A recurrent theme of musical composition associated with a specific person or situation.
Yeah, like, you mentioned Sephiroth from Final Fantasy, and it's just like, Sephiroth! Oh god.
Since the leitmotifs here are associated with individual places, there's a certain sense of familiarity and nostalgia that's created whenever it happens. It's a small yet highly impactful detail that immerses you right from the beginning of the episode. 90 seconds of music and visuals, both working in tandem to set the tone of where we are in this adventure. Aside from that, we also have monsters, gods, and demon lords, floating castles, academies, and churches, wars of all scopes and sizes, then even separate worlds adjacent to this one. That may sound like elements you've come across before, but I assure you each is implemented in a way that you've likely never seen before.
Yeah, it is very
So,
different.
if all that doesn't highlight the imaginative and immersive fantasy that is Mushoku Tensei, then that's on me for not explaining it well. I honestly wish I could dive deeper into each of them, but a video like that would last for hours. So, instead we're gonna move on to its strongest selling point yet. The animation.
Oh my god.
Regardless
Yes, the animation's so freaking good. I can't wait for it to come back, man.
of whether you like the anime or not, pretty much everyone will agree that the animation is phenomenal. For me, I honestly haven't seen anything this good since Violet Evergarden. Whether it's a super intense action scene, the casting of some beautiful magic, or even just the opening of a piece of bread, every aspect, foreground or background, just comes to life with the stunning visuals and fluid motion of it all.
No, it makes me hungry.
With such precise detail and rich textures being applied to both characters and environments alike, there's a whole new layer of depth and realism to be appreciated here. Like, Eris's character, who'd never stepped foot on a beach before, can be seen losing her footing when experiencing the unfamiliar terrain of sand for the first time. If that isn't attention to detail, then I honestly don't know what would be. So, it's little things like that that are sprinkled all throughout the anime.
Jeez, they don't even need to do that. You don't need to do that, but that's awesome.
They're not always apparent, but if you pay enough attention, then you'll start to see just how much a masterclass of animation this anime really is. The studio behind it was very clearly passionate with what they were working on.
Yeah.
Combine that with a soundtrack by Yoshiaki Fujisawa, and what you get are OSTs that perfectly capture the tone of whatever's happening. Grand orchestral arrangements capture the feelings of sense and awe, while ethereal notes are used to create a sense of mystery and intrigue. There's such a wide range of moods and emotions to cover that it's no wonder the entire soundtrack spans the length of hours. They really do go to enhance the emotional impact of everything, especially the leitmotifs I mentioned earlier. So, whether it's the captivating soundtrack, stunning visuals, or engaging storytelling, just about everything in Mushoku Tensei was amazing. Thus the reason I felt the need to make this video. I know the anime awards aren't meant to be taken seriously, but it just didn't feel right letting things sit
It's
like
weird,
this.
isn't it?
So,
It is
Mushoku
weird.
Tensei, here's your Annie News Award for the best fantasy anime of 2022. It's not really worth anything,
Yay.
but at least with this I can sleep a little bit better now. But yeah. Now,
Brilliant.
before I go, if you want to get yourself one of these desk mats,
These
then
desk
you can do
mats do
so
look
now with the
good,
link
like-
in the description. It's a high-quality, ultra-wide mousepad that takes inspiration from a lot of my favorite anime.
Shield Hero.
So feel free to check those out down
Awards.
below.
Mushoku
But anyway,
Tensei.
as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time.
Ciao. Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. Mushoku Tensei should have won the best fantasy, so we all just need to come together next time and just make it happen, because Demon Slayer and Mushoku Tensei are both out this year, but Tower of God Season 2. Is that out this year, or am I making that up? I hope it is. Anyway, Make sure you check out my Etsy shop. T-shirts and hoodies are there to be purchased. They greatly appreciate the help there buying them. The support's awesome. And thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month for all our support channels. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.